freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Gun Freedom Radio. I am your host, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. We have Larry Zanoff here from ISS.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome, Larry. Not just ISS, which is Studio Services Prop.
Independent Studio Services, biggest prop house in the world.
Thank you. But you are also the co-host of Hollywood Weapons. Season 4 coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. We finished filming season 4. We were going to release it January, kind of, maybe in conjunction with the SHOT Show here, but it got pushed a little bit till further in the year for, I'm sure, a better rating spot or something like that. But season 4 is just going to be off the hook. It takes everything we've done in season 1, 2, and 3 and just puts it to shame, to be honest with you. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Third quarter, it'll be premiering then. And then season 3 has just become available on Amazon Prime, right? So for all of our international viewers that never get to see it on Outdoor Channel, they're able to see that now, and that's pretty cool as well.
That is very cool. And we were at the Cody Firearms Museum in Cody, Wyoming, and we're walking around the aisles, and I'm hearing this voice, two voices, that sounded really familiar to me, and I was like, what is that I hear? So they have a whole new section. They've completely redesigned the museum, and there's this whole section on how firearms intersect with culture.
Yep.
And the voices I was hearing were you and your co-host, because they're playing Hollywood Weapons in this world-famous museum.
Yeah, it was really, really humbling, actually. Ashley Lubinsky, who's the curator there, who's done an absolutely phenomenal job of revamping the museum. They created kind of an educational center, educational component, I should say, to it. Part of it interacting with, pop culture, part of it more educational. And she, honored us with using a clip from our show to show in a very educational way part of what we do and, firearms culture and television and how it interacts. And it blows me away that, we're in a museum, and of all places, the Cody Firearms Museum, because that's like the Super Bowl, right? And the fact that people are, not only did they want it in the museum from the museum point of view, but people who go to the museum, I'm getting texts and emails all over the place from people I've never heard from before, because they're like, we love your show, and we were at Cody and we saw this, the film clip going and everything, and it's really, really great. The response from viewers has been phenomenal, and we're just so thankful for that.
Well, it really is, I think, a testament to I'm going to say, important work that you're doing on Hollywood Weapons, because of course it is highly entertaining. I mean,
for sure, that's what it is.
You're the straight man. Your co-host is hilarious.
Yeah.
The costuming is hilarious, and I'll let you describe to folks exactly what you're doing, like taking movie scenes and that sort of thing. But it's highly important work because you're drawing us in with the entertainment and the movie segment of it, but then you're really teaching us a lot about safety, right? What guns do, what they don't do, right? How much is just fantasy of Hollywood? I think that's really important.
It is. My day job is I work in the entertainment industry as like what we call an on-set armorer or a motion picture armorer, where we're responsible for safety, and of course we do the mechanics of converting guns to blanks and different things like that. And the main reason that I actually agreed to be on the show, because honestly, I'm not a very social person. I don't like having my picture taken at all. My wife will contest to that.
Well, ignore the
But
camera. That's
yeah,
honest
the
right
only
now.
reason that I agreed to do it was because I felt it would shine a spotlight on the craft of the onset armor. Most people don't even know a position like that exists. And then the other part was it was a show in a major network that showed gun ownership and activity with firearms in a positive light. And we were very, very fortunate that Terry and I, Terry Shepard being a former Special Forces guy, I've had some military experience myself, we kind of, clicked really and had a good chemistry. And that's one of the biggest comments we get about the show is this really good chemistry on camera. And you're right, we're having fun and it is very entertaining. I mean, sometimes I can't keep a straight face with some of the stuff that Terry does. He's so good at it.
Yes.
And he becomes the characters of each different episode because he's an actor himself. He has that talent. But the educational part for me is really where I like the show going in that direction.
But you threw me off, Larry. You said it was work. I mean, this is a job. You get paid for doing this.
So you know what? Well, I didn't say I got paid for doing it. I said it was work. Right?
There you go.
The thing is, and this is maybe something that people don't pick up on when you're watching a television show. For 22 minutes of content on air, we work for days and days and days. There's so much involved. And you can see some of that on the behind the scenes parts of Hollywood Weapons. How much goes into the prep? How much goes into the planning? The safety, for me, of course, is the most, hair curdling kind of situation because I'm responsible for the safety. I help them write the different challenges. Dan Ram, who's our writer, is a fantastic writer, but he's not always that knowledgeable about the technical end of the firearms part. So I help with that. Then I've got my lines. I know it's reality, but we do have kind of a direction we go in. Or I should say, we have a direction that they write, and then me and Terry just leave that by the wayside, and we go in our own direction.
And live your way through it.
But it is work because you want to put out a product that looks good. At the end of the day, it is still entertainment. And the quality of the film work, our camera crews, our director of photography, our director, John Carter does wonderful stuff. He's done many award-winning, documentaries in the past and everything. We're very fortunate to have him. And the whole crew very much puts all their heart and soul into it. I think because they're all firearms enthusiasts. And you had mentioned something about it being important work, and I never looked at it that way. But I've had, even here at the SHOT Show, people coming up and going, "We so enjoy your programs, everything on the Outdoor Channel, gun stories and shooting gallery and Hollywood Weapons, and it's so important what you do." And I kept thinking, what is important about it? It's a 22-minute kind of almost like comedy routine. But it spotlights firearms ownership and it does it in a positive way, an educational way. And that was one of the things that was eye-opening for me when I became involved in gun stories and Hollywood Weapons and all that. And I think it's a true service that the Outdoor Channel and the network is doing to our community as far as keeping that in front of the public eye.
Well, you're teaching people how to be safe with guns without them even knowing you're teaching them how to be safe with guns.
Exactly.
Plus, you're giving them a colorful view of how fun guns can be.
It's, again, it's entertainment, it's science, it's education. The safety part of it is that's my kind of, I don't want to use the word pet peeve, but that's my focus in the show. One, because it has to be, and two, because, I know a lot of people that unfortunately learn their history from watching television. I'm a bit of a history buff, and that kind of angers me because sometimes movies aren't quite historically accurate. So I thought about that. It's like if people are going to be watching this show and they're going to go out and do what they see, they're going to learn about gun safety by what we do on the show. It's kind of like an added responsibility to make sure that what we put out there is actually correct.
Yeah, and another thing you mentioned too is you're a movie set gun armorer.
Mm-hmm.
How come I didn't know about that title when I was 18 years old? I mean, that would have been an exciting career to pursue. how come people don't know about that?
Well, the reason you don't know about it is because we kind of tried to steer it away from your your line of vision, because you'd quit on this show for sure. Cheryl'd be on her own, and you'd be out there doing nothing but that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You'd have been like, Cheryl who? I'm gone.
Exactly. But you're right. I think one of the things about the entertainment industry, and I actually kind of see myself as coming from the firearms industry. I was in that long before I ever kind of fell into this entertainment industry gig. And when I would go to the movies, even back then, and more so now, I stayed to the end of the movie and I watched the credits. And it's not because, now the big thing is to have the after credits scene again. It's because how many hundreds or even thousands of people, missed birthdays, missed anniversaries, put their blood, sweat, and tears into this project and everything. And because they're not the person in front of the camera, nobody knows who they are. And I think that's very unfair, because the lead grip or the head electrician or even the transportation captain has just as much to do with the success of the film project as the actors who are in front of the camera. So it is one of those things where people don't know about it. We're trying to change that. I think people should stay and watch the credits. You might read the credits and go, armorer? What the heck position is an armorer, right? I never, on a film, who is this guy? And then they look it up online and they learn that, there's a whole career path that you could take, which is kind of a weird, one. Myself, I always tell people that I fell into this by being in the wrong place at the wrong time and having a misspent youth. But the reason I say that is because there's no learnable career path. There's no college course that you can go take, and as long as you pass that course, you're guaranteed a spot as a motion picture armorer. So we've wanted to kind of broaden those horizons, the awareness of the work that we do. We need quality people in the film industry. We have a lot of veterans that are coming out of the military now. They have experience with firearms and stuff like that. Not promising anybody a job, but we'd love to hear from you, because we need the new influx of new blood and new ideas. Independent Studio Services is, like I said, the largest prop house in the world, pretty much. It's third generation is moving into running this company. It's been around since 1977. It's been built on new blood coming in and continuing the tradition that we have there. And we'd like to see that happen with our armorers as well.
And it's not just California, is it?
It is not. The funny thing about the film industry is everybody thinks of film industry and they say Hollywood. In the United States, film industry began in New York, and they kind of ran out to Hollywood to kind of, expand the business. So it's all over. There's a lot of filming going on in New Mexico, a lot of filming going on in Louisiana. We just bought a brand new building in Georgia, which has a huge amount of production going on. We have new employees there, inventory and things like that. So, and of course we ship worldwide as well. I've done a couple projects in Morocco, we've been to the UK and things like that. So it's not just a Hollywood kind of thing. And it is interesting, though, that we do still set the standard, because there'll be a film crew going, let's say, to Morocco, and they'll take the armorer and the director and the producer and the director of photography from Hollywood, and then they'll hire some local people there to fill out the rest of the crew. But the key positions, the gold standard is still Hollywood, and we want to keep that standard high.
Absolutely. Well, when you talk about, the whole idea of gunsmithing and moving into possibly a career in gunsmithing on set, which is armoring, right? And teaching gun safety and how to handle do you do that part? Do you teach the actors and actresses actually how to handle a firearm as an armorer, or is that a different job?
So actually the gunsmithing part itself, there's what we call the front end and the back end at our business. The back end are gunsmiths sitting at the shop. They don't necessarily go out on set. And then we have the on-set armorers that are the ones that once the gun's been converted to shoot blanks and prepped, we'll take it out onto set. And we interact with talent. We talk with the director about the scene and how to do what we call gunfight choreography, believe it or not, because you got a lot of moving parts. You got cameraman, you got a boom guy who's from the sound department. They got to be real close to the action, and it might be a little bit dangerous. So the on-set armor is responsible for all of that. We interact with the technical advisors. We help with the training and things like that. So it's very interesting. Someone who wants to become a gunsmith, I can guarantee you we'll be able to work on stuff at our place that they'll never be able to work on anywhere else. If you want to build a custom rifle and be at a custom rifle shop your entire life, I admire that, and I think that's great, and it is an important part of our industry. But in our armory, today you're going to be working on Brown Bess flintlock muskets, and tomorrow you're going to be mounting miniguns on a Black Hawk helicopter.
Oh,
and it's
I hate
very, like I said, if we let you in on too many of the secrets, you'd be gone in a heartbeat. But we did. We were fortunate enough to have you out on one of the shows we did earlier in this year. It's getting ready to release some of those episodes here pretty soon on the Outdoor Channel. I'm not going to mention what it was until it airs, of course. But you guys were a great resource, very helpful, and of course you're nice people. So we always enjoy having some kind of project, whether it's the radio show here or actually being able to get out onto set.
It was really fun, and as we said, it's super safe. I just couldn't believe the over and over of making sure that everything was safe on the set to protect everybody that was around us, because they were close. I mean,
very close.
People were really close, so it was a lot of fun. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, and what was a kick for us, we get back to that history piece of it, and how much history we think we know just because we watch TV and we watch movies. Some of the items that we're fortunate enough to have at our gun shop, AZ Firearms, are true historic firearms. And when you called us and asked about a specific one, it gave us a chance to, kind of like give it some life again. Bring it out into the sunshine, and even just the people on set of all different ages and all different backgrounds, and that for them to have a chance to experience this, it's got to pique their interest. It's got to pique their mind to go, I want to know more about this.
We joke a lot about it at the shop. The entertainment industry can be very stressful. There's a lot of timelines and deadlines and very high stress environments. And of course, for us with the firearms, there's a safety issue involved and everything. And it can be a little bit repetitive. And sometimes, by midweek or, end of the week, you're like, you're just trying to go through the motions to get it done. And then we'll have something like maybe a few people come in for a tour of ISS. And they'll walk around and we kind of see their eyes just, brighten up, and they're so enthusiastic and they think it's so cool and everything. And after they leave, we stop and kind of look at each other and go, you know what? We do have a pretty cool job. It is very interesting. We get to meet wonderful people. We get to go to places and do things that the average person does not get to do. Give life to historical pieces like you mentioned. And I think that's important. And it's great when the fact that you guys, you brought that up on your own. This is not scripted, but you brought that up on your own. And it's great that you saw that yourself, because that's kind of what keeps us interested in doing this. Like I said, I'm a huge history buff. I love working with these things. I prefer the older, more period gun shows anyway, because, the guns that we had out from AZ Firearms, if you're doing a World War I movie or whatever, those guns had a real world history.
Yes.
And now they've got a Hollywood history because of the different films that they're in. And so that, to me, it's that old saying about, fiction kind of mirrors reality and reality kind of mirrors fiction and everything. It just drives home that point, because this actor who's, maybe playing a part in a World War I movie, when you tell them, well, here's this rifle, this is what you got to do with it, and they invariably they get kind of into the gun part of it, and they go like, well, if I wanted to buy one of these rifles on my own, after the movie, how could I do that? And you go, well, unfortunately, that's a real World War I, whatever it is, and they're very, very rare in working condition. They're hard to come by. It gives them something extra in their acting part and everything, and that's what keeps history alive. At least in my opinion.
And then what would you say about this cross section that we're seeing between firearms and video games? I'm seeing some positives. I mean, there can definitely be the negative because, like, okay, shoot 'em up, somebody falls down, dead, stands back up in the next scene, and that's not reality. We don't want kids to only have that idea of how firearms interact with the world. But I'm seeing the positive that young kids are coming in our shop in AZ Firearms, and they can name, just by sight, they can name what the different guns are. And I can't do that. That's not my gift.
We
right?
don't play video games.
I don't play video games. But I think that can be a true positive. So what is your take
So the
on
last
that
couple of years,
intersection?
just in our entertainment world, the video game industry has become a much bigger part of our business. As far as, that idea of guys just falling down in the game, getting back again, you know what, video games is not where you're supposed to learn your ethics and your morals and stuff like that. And you're supposed to learn that in your home from your parents and everything. But this is a game, it is entertainment. It's become very, very competitive. The graphics about having the right look to the guns, the sound departments. Recently, we were fortunate enough to work on the latest Call of Duty game that came out. They won 2 different awards for the quality of their sound in the game and everything. And it just pushes the bar higher and higher as far as the professionalism and the product that gets put out there. And you're right, a lot of people learn things, as we mentioned before, from television, from video games and things like that. And the reason it's so competitive now is the viewing public, or the playing public, is so much better educated about firearms than they were in the past. We've got a lot of young guys and gals that are coming out of the military, and they know what an AK-47 sounds like. They know the difference between that and an M4. And so when they play these games and they select what weapon they're going to use, if it doesn't sound right, or perhaps taking a 700-yard shot with a handgun doesn't make much sense. If you can do that in the game, it's not very realistic. So the whole backstory to all of these games, it's very, very important, and the public wants that realism. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to play a game or watch a movie to kind of forget about the real world, and in a game or entertainment kind of environment, see a different real world, right? Some of it's science fiction, not so much with the firearms part of it, but we want that experience of being able to play that game like in the real world without the real world effects.
Absolutely. Well, we are about to wrap up, but I just want to touch back on the season 4 of Hollywood Weapons.
Yep.
That we're not going to get to start seeing the new episodes until a little later in 2020.
July, August, maybe somewhere around there, but the seasons 1, 2, and 3, like I said, are in reruns, and of course you can see them now on Amazon Prime. And hopefully there'll be some buzz and maybe some surprises on the lead up to season 4. So keep your eyes glued to the Outdoor channel, because that's where you'll see it. And of course, I got to say to everyone listening, all the viewers are phenomenal. We love hearing the comments, your emails and your texts. I apologize in advance if we don't get a chance to answer every single one of them, but we do see them. We take note. A lot of the episodes in season 4 are episodes that were made because of viewer requests and everything. Write into the Outdoor channel. Let them know that you like the show and everything. We do listen. The network listens, so it is an important part of this creative process that is television. It's not just us making something and throwing it out there. The viewing public is part of this process. And we really, me and Terry, we just love hearing from the public who watch the show, and the enthusiasm is just unbelievable. Even here at the SHOT Show, I'm walking down the hallways and the aisles, and people are coming up to me and they're, "Hey Larry, I just really loved what you did." And I'm thinking, like 1,000 miles an hour going like, who is this person? I
Yes.
can't remember their name. Oh, please, I don't want to, embarrass them or me. And then it's like, oh, these are just fans that,
Yes.
they watch the show, they feel invested in it, they know me and
Yes.
Terry by sight and everything. And it's just such an honor to be involved in something like that. And you as well, inviting us to come on to these radio spots and everything. I look forward to. It's one of the highlights of my SHOT Show every year.
Awesome.
Thank you. Us as well. And I love that whole idea of, everything is like crowdsourced nowadays, crowdfunded nowadays. And, the crowd can actually help make sure that one of our favorite shows stays on
Huge
the air,
influence. Yeah.
because it never fails. If there's some show or some meal in a restaurant, something that I love, somehow it ends up vanishing. Don't let that happen. Right to the Outdoor Channel. I'm counting on you because I love this show so much. Larry Zanoff, thank you so much. How can folks reach out? Suppose I'm somebody sitting at home and I'm like, oh, that cool armorer thing sounds kind of cool, and I heard a little bit of an invitation. What do I do with that invitation? Is there a specific place I should reach out?
Yeah, I mean, Independent Studio Services has a website. We got our emails on the website. You're always welcome to send in resumes. Things like that. I would discourage you from calling on the phone to talk about work, just because we are trying to run a business.
Sure.
And we would get swamped, 24/7 with those calls. But send me an email or a resume, run down who you are. We can always talk on the phone later on. And if something develops, it develops. One thing to keep in mind, the entertainment industry is very much still based on timing. It's got to be the right time. You happen to meet the right person. There's the right project that comes up. So I would encourage you to, not give up right away.
Sure.
I know people who are very successful as on-set armorers now, and it's taken them years to get into it, but it was their passion. They were dedicated. They hung in there and everything, and they ultimately made it to where they wanted to be. And, keep in mind, it's a very small circle of people that do this. Everybody wants to get into the NFL, but only a few people wind up being quarterbacks. So, just hang in there, follow your passion, be safe out there, and hopefully, we can create some opportunities in the future.
So there's 2 resumes that you have to delete immediately. One will have Dan Todd's
How'd you
name
know I
on
was
it.
already getting ready to do that?
I know. And the other one is our gunsmith who was able to come out to Gunsight that day. Kyle Levitt. Ignore that name.
Yeah,
Don't
you
take
you
him
were
from
able to
us.
ignore that.
Kyle, you're not allowed to leave us.
You were both wonderful that day, and at the same time, I have blocked both of your cell phone numbers from my cell phone, because it was like, oh God, there it is again. It's like, no, I promise you, don't call me, I'll call you.
How about now?
But again, that's one of those things where, like I said, a very small circle of people deal with this, not just in the movie part, but in the general firearms world. It's very odd how the cream does rise to the top, and ultimately, because we've been talking for years about this kind of thing, ultimately these opportunities, they do show up, they do come up. You just got to hang in there and everything, and then they're just great collaborative, projects.
Sure. Fantastic. Larry Zanoff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Larry,
much.
thank you.
We really
Always a pleasure.
appreciate you. Appreciate what you do, and it is important work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. All right, everybody, stick around. There's always lots more coming up on Gun Freedom Radio.